Hey everybody, it's Monday. It's October 8th. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Here in New York, it's Christopher Columbus Day. It's a holiday, so the state and city offices are all closed. Some businesses are closed. It's just a slow day. Um, I had some time on my hands, so I wanted to make this video. This video is going to be directed towards young adults. And I want to talk about the issue of working, college, trade school, all of that stuff. All right, so here's how we'll start. There are some 18, 19, 20-year olds, they are still living at home with their parents. And their parents are making them still attend meetings. Some parents have told their 20-year-old kid, you can't have a full-time job, you got to work part-time. Um, and so basically, even though you're a full young adult now, your lifestyle is not reflective of that. Um, what's happening is your parent is still treating you as a minor and dictating to you what they are going to allow and not allow you to do. And so that becomes problematic now because instead of you living your life, you are still having your life dictated to you. And I'm going to point out that life that's being dictated to you is not going to be in your best interest. It's going to be in whatever is in the best interest of the cult. So that's why I wanted to make this video today. I wanted to address that issue. And again, we're going to talk about the issue about whether you should move out or remain at home when you become 18, 19 years old. Okay. So let's pretend you want to go to either trade school or college. Your first question to your parents should be, is that going to be a problem? If they are going to discourage, if they're going to tell you you cannot go to college while living in their home, that's your first indicator you need to make new living arrangements. All right. If they're already telling you what you can and cannot do, and it's not something illegal, you're not asking to do something illegal, that's your first indicator. Okay. Another indicator of whether you should or should not remain at home. If your parent says, well, I really want you to go to Bethel, or the parent says, oh, I really want you to become a full-time pioneer. I don't want you to go off to college. I don't want you to have a full-time job. That's a second indicator. A second indicator that you should not be living at home. Your lifestyle should be not lifestyle. Your professional goals and careers and aspirations has to be reflective of your wishes, not theirs. So if they're curbing what they will, allow you to do. So for example, some, parents tell their full-grown adult kids, 18, 19, 20 years old, they tell them, I want you to only work part-time. Again, they're curbing you. They're limiting what they will allow you to do. Okay, and so that's your second indicator of that you should not be living there, that you should be looking for other arrangements. Okay, I'm going to give you a third indicator. Third indicator, if they limit what you can do as far as income, meaning they want you to only work part time, that limits how much income you can generate. Okay, and if anyone tries to tell you, okay, well, I only want you to work part time, I only want you to do this, I only want that is your third indicator that you need to seek independence, because again, that only curtails what you're allowed to do. It will not help you in finding, your own place to live, or it will negatively impact just about every, aspect of your life. Okay, so those are the three main things that you need to consider when making the decision of whether you will live at home or move out. Um, if your parents are willing to cooperate with you, and I'll give you an example. You go to your parents, you're 18 years old, and you say, Mom, Dad, I need to have this talk with you. Um, I'm no longer a minor adult. I'm sorry, I'm no longer a minor child. I'm a legal adult now. You can no longer force me to be part of the cause, and I really don't wish to be. So I need to make that clear to you now. These are my goals for the future. I want to go to college or trade school, and I also want to work full time. And I want to know how much to know, will you support me in that? I want to know, will I be allowed to remain at home, and pursue those goals? And then your decision of whether you can, I mean, basically they will tell you whether or not they're going to allow you to do that. But that's basically, again, that forms your decision. The wild card in this is if your parent says, okay, that's fine if you go to college, but please, you can remain at home, but please, we want you to still at least attend the meetings. If you agree, okay, I'll attend the meetings, but I'm not going out in field service. I'm not, going to be on a theocratic ministry school. I'm not going to be commenting during the meetings, during the Watchtower study. If you can agree like on terms like that, that's up to you. Because basically they're just saying to go to the meeting. They're not asking you to believe it. They're just saying, could you just attend? So again, that one's a wild card. If you can, make peace to participating to that limited extent, that might be worth it. Again, if they're willing to, the trade-off is that you attend college, then that may be worthwhile. But you don't want to get into this situation where anything that's going to make it so that you can secure your future is jeopardized. So basically, if they're telling you no college, you don't want to, you don't want to stay in a situation where your future is now in jeopardy. So again, if they're telling you no college, that's not a good deal. If they're telling you you can't join the military, again, not a good deal. If they're telling you you have to, so if they're telling you that you have to be a member of the cult and participate in the meetings and go on a field service and you have to do this, you have to do that. Again, that's not a good deal. And remember, you're in a full-grown adult at this point. So basically, you do not need their consent. You do not need their consent. All right. One of the things I wanted to also make clear is that regardless of if you decide to go to college or you decide to go to trade school, no matter which one of those two you decide to do, you should always be working. Okay? Always be working. You want to always be generating some type of income, and saving as much of that income as you can. Okay? I've heard some people say that they are working, but they don't generate enough income for housing. You should check with your state's welfare system, the public assistance office, and see if they can help you find affordable housing. You should find out what, if any, benefits can they give you. And I'm not promising that they're going to find you a castle or something. I'm just saying you should inquire, because sometimes there's programs that they know of that can help you. And so it's important though that you do have some sort of income coming in. I recommend working full time always, and either go to school at night or whatever, or the reverse. You go to school in the morning but then work at night. But whatever you choose to do, you should always be working full time. Okay, down below in the description section, I'm gonna put a link. It's a link to a study that was done by the Pew organization, and it's about Jehovah's Witnesses, and it shows that that most of them, I think it's 63%, only have a high school education or less. It also shows the amount of income that Jehovah's Witnesses, the members, are making, and I think about 50% are making like 30,000 a year and less. And so, of course, with the cost of living continuously rising, we have to do better. We have to do better in securing our future. The cult teaches parents that that Armageddon is going to happen any minute now, and of course, the parents scare the kids with this. And so, what I'm asking you to do is not make a decision based on fear of Armageddon, fear of this, fear of that. Make a decision based on, what if Armageddon doesn't come for the next 1,000 years? Make a decision based on, you need to be able to secure your future. Um, I'm, and you can't be limited, or your parents don't have the right to spell out to you, what you can and cannot do. So you really got to take this battle on your own. That's why if you are still in school, if you're a teen still in school, that is why I strongly recommend you reach out to your teachers and guidance counselors for help. You need to find people who are going to encourage your growth and your independence, not someone who's going to try to keep you, tied to the cult, which is what, JW parents try to do. They try to, in any way they can, keep their kids connected to the cult. And so, it may fall on you as the grown up child, the 18, 19-year-old child, to cut those ties, right? I mean, I don't mean the ties to your parent. I mean the tie to the cult. You have to cut that tie to the cult. Okay, so you have to be very careful. I'm not asking that you be disrespectful to your parents or belligerent and obnoxious, but you are going to have to be a little bit assertive. And so that means you're going to have a clear vision of what you want to do with your future, and you need to be able to communicate that to your parents and explain to them that it's non-negotiable. Um, Again, you should be cooperating with your parents to the extent that they are supportive of you achieving whatever goals you have set for yourself. The court cannot be, your tie to the court cannot be part of that deal. In other words, they should not be forcing you to be part of the court. And if they are trying to force you to be part of the cult, you should not be agreeing to that. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to drive home. That whatever choices you are making with your life and your future, your tie to the cult is not something that they should be bargaining with in order to, And again, if they are using the tie to the cult, you should be very selective as to what you are and are not willing to do. Again, if it's just attending meetings in exchange for you living there and going to college, that's a worthwhile deal. So you got to be careful of something else as well. Um, Sometimes when we become 18, 19 years old, we're so used to our parents, supervising us and being the authority figures in our lives that we forget that time is now over. So when we become 18, they no longer have authority over our lives. We are now legal adults, and we are now responsible for our own actions, right? So, for example, if you turn 18 and you go decide to rob a liquor store, you know, your the police are not going to go find your parents. You're 18 at that point. They're not going to go, get your parents for you and all of this. If you were a minor child, they would, but not because you're a full-grown adult. No, that's not going to happen, and that's the same way you would have to face your own the consequences if you broke the law or something. This is the same kind of decision. It's this decision where you have to, because you're the one that's going to be paying the consequences. You have to be the one that makes the decision as to whether you go to college, whether you work full time, and so that's why that decision cannot be made by them. Another point I would like to bring out to you is that with our parents, that bond that's there, the parents know that bond that's between parent and child, the cult uses that bond. And basically, if the child is not, in line with the cult's behavior policies and all this stuff, they try to cut that bond. And so the parent knows this and is doing everything they can so that bond does not get broken. And so when they give you advice and they give you directions, that's what their concern is that if you do anything that goes against what the cult wants, they're going to have to disconnect from you. They're going to have to shun you. And so that's where their decisions and their guidance is coming from. And so with that being in mind, when they're telling you, listen, I don't want you to go to college. I only want you to work part-time and become a pioneer. I want you to do, that's what's facing but that's what the basis of their decision is coming from. And it's going to fall on you to you know to reject that kind of thinking. In other words, you don't want to do anything that is supportive of the cult's controlling attributes, and that's one of the ways you're going to have to stand up to them. I sympathize with young adults. I know it's not easy, but you are going to have to really act in your own best interest. And I've said this plenty of times to teens as well as young adults. When you're involved in the cult does not care about you as a person. The cult is only looking out for itself and what is in its own best interest. It does not care. Does not care about the bond between you and your parents or your other siblings or whatever it is. It does not care. The only thing it cares about is itself. It cares about the money that it generates, right? So when you make a decision, it cannot be with the cult in mind because the cult is not looking out for you. So you should not be looking out for the cult. Okay. I cannot stress that enough. I really cannot stress that enough. Basically, I need you to come out of this thing so that you're making decisions that will not negatively impact your future. And if you try to appease your parents and say, okay, mom, I'll only work part-time, it only is it's gonna just drag out the amount of time you're forced to remain at home. And keep in mind, so now you're forced to remain at home. If they've told you you can't go to college, well, then that college is pushed off for years and years and years. It just drags everything out. And we all know how life gets. Sometimes we all know how life gets. Sometimes we get one problem layered on top of another problem, layered on top of another one, on top of another one, and so on. And so it gets stressful. It gets very stressful. And then we feel like we're at the end of our rope sometimes, but only because we need to plan our lives in such a way that we can be self-sufficient. And sometimes, we fail to do that, and then the consequences can be overwhelming. And it's no different for me. I have the same challenge. We again, that's what being tied to a cult does. Um, Again, another issue that we need to be careful of is that sometimes they plant in us this idea that Armageddon's coming, at any minute now, and so we take for granted that we feel that in other words, we don't have to plan our lives carefully, right? We feel we can just get by doing as little as possible, whatever needs to be done, the bare necessities, and we'll be fine. And before you know it, the end of the world will come. And so you got to be careful that you don't fall into the trap of, oh, I can just wing it, or I'll be okay. I'll just, sometimes we're thinking that the end will come, and it's nowhere around it's nowhere in the near future, and then our poor planning catches up with us little by little every day, and it overtakes us and it overwhelms us. So if you're putting off going to college or whatever it is, please do not put it off. Work towards it diligently. Like I always tell you, please, if you're in high school, please get good grades. Do not let your grades tank. The other thing, college does cost money. There's some states that are trying to work towards the free college initiative. So, two things. You should always be working, no matter if you are in college, and you should always research the financing of college. Try to get scholarships. You should, research it thoroughly and try to get as much assistance as you can in paying for your college education. But it's very important, and that's why. And the main thing is, again, you don't want to have regrets wishing you had done things differently. Um, and if it's your parents, you should cooperate with them only to the extent that they are willing to recognize that you are an adult and not interfere with you pursuing whatever your goals and aspirations are. But it's important that you do have goals, that you set them and work towards them. All right. One last thing I want to say on this issue is, when we're Jehovah's Witnesses, they tell us to be sheep-like. They tell us to be obedient and all of this stuff. And we tend to view those as virtuous qualities, as good qualities. And sometimes it is good to be sheep-like. Sometimes is good to be cooperative, but other times it isn't. It isn't, and we have to be able to know when it is a good time to be sheep-like and obedient and cooperative, and when the proper time is not to be cooperative and to be a little bit assertive and to put our foot down. And when it comes to you pursuing a future when it comes to you pursuing things that secures your future, that's one of the things you cannot negotiate on. You have to be assertive. You have to, you know, take what steps are necessary. I don't know if I mentioned this, but again, with housing, if housing is the issue, you should seek out your public services office, public assistance office, whether it's welfare or whatever it is. And again, sometimes they have housing assistance programs where they'll find affordable housing for you if you're on a limited income. But your participation in the cause is one of those things that you are not required to do after you become an adult. So your parents cannot coerce you to be involved in the cult. And again, if I were an 18, 19-year-old kid, the only way I would cooperate with my parent on cult issues like that is, okay, if you pay for my college, I'll continue to go to the meetings. That's how I would do it. If you pay for college, I'll go to the meetings. In other words, I have to get something out of it, and it has to be something significant. It can't be just this thing where it's the same thing. So that's my video for today. I hope this helps. Hope you guys have a great week. Take care. If you have any feedback, just leave it for me. I'm always in the XJW Facebook community on Facebook community as well as on Reddit. So please definitely leave feedback, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.